Welcome to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. This is not your typical financial radio show. As a licensed CPA, insurance agent, and investment advisory representative, Chris coaches his clients on a holistic view of financial well-being with an objective of providing a complete financial strategy to fund life's goals. Chris is here to guide you down the path to the financial serenity you deserve. Now, here's Chris Cooper.
All right, we are in the swing of political campaign season, November. It is almost time, and we are going to be voting before you know it. And all parties are talking about taxes. They're trying to get people's votes by talking about taxes. Tax cuts, right? You got one side saying, "Oh man, the Trump tax cut stuff, man, he taxed nothing, but he gave a tax break to only the billionaires," right? That's what they like to say. Well, quite frankly, the IRS would beg to differ. The stats from the IRS would suggest that, and I believe it because I see it each and every day, that the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2018 actually helped most people in this country reduce their tax liability. So, sorry, fact checkers, wrong. Okay? That's my thought, wrong. Here's the deal. We have a problem with taxation risk in this country. Most of us do. We have a silent partner in our financial futures. It is the U.S. government. We cannot avoid it. This is something I was actually talking to one of my friends and clients last week about. And he said, "Man, I heard your show last week and you were talking about this partnership I have in my future with the government." That's not a partnership. Well, it's not a partnership we like. But yeah, unfortunately, it's a partnership, and they're not a nice partner. They're not a nice partner at all because they control the share of the partnership interest they keep, right? That's what the IRS does. They have the share or the opportunity to change the share of the partnership interest in your financial future. I don't like that. I like control. I like control of my own destiny. I like control of my strategies. So we need to try to mitigate that silent partner. We have to think about that. And with the upcoming election, there's all these promises that do happen, and both political parties, neither one are innocent in this. They all say, we're going to tax it this way, tax it that way. My job is to educate and inform. That's what I tend to do, is educate and inform and try to give people some facts to understand really, fact from fiction, okay? Every political party since the 1980s with Ronald Reagan, and I could go back even further, but every president since the Ronald Reagan timeframe has had some type of stamp or impact on tax code. Every one of them. Right? They can go up, you can reform taxes, you can see some tax cuts, and obviously there's some eras where there's some tax increases. I'm looking at the list here right now. It's in front of me, folks, and I got to tell you, it's not political affiliation. Okay? It's not. Sometimes it's time-driven. Sometimes it's economic-driven. George Bush Sr., tax cuts. Nope. That was his son. Okay? Bush saw tax increases, son tax decreases. Clinton, tax increases. Okay? Ronald Reagan, known for tax reform, tax decreases. But you know what happened during the Reagan era? Social Security became taxable. 50%, up to 50%. More people pay about 85%, thanks the Bill Clinton era brought that one in. So things happen with taxes in every presidential term. Okay? Everyone has their stamp on it. And it's going to happen again with the upcoming presidency. Whether it's Trump, whether it's the Harris administration, which is really just a continuation of the Biden, let's just be honest. Ultimately, tax is something that changes with presidential affiliation to some degree. Okay? But the reason that happens is not because they want to change taxes as much as it's a math equation. And so we have to understand what they can and can't really do. And, there's all this stuff about no tax on tips, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Good luck pulling that off, because at the end of the day, every income is income, okay? Every income is income. Al Capone, you know what he got in trouble for? He was arrested for tax evasion because of illegal income streams. Tax evasion on illegal income streams. It was still income. Okay. So all income's taxable, folks. I'm sorry to bust that one out. I don't see it happening. Don't buy it. I don't care who's saying it. Nope, not buying it. Okay. Only tax the wealthy, fair share, 400,000 or more. It always starts there. And then it doesn't stop there. So we have to understand what they're saying and what's reality. So I don't believe any of that stuff. I believe data from trusted, credible sources. The IRS can be one of them, because the IRS would tell you that the 2018 Tax Cut and Jobs Act actually saw decreases for most folks, most families, by a quite significant amount. So I think taxes is a big deal. And it's something we have to make sure we understand. And it does get my blood pressure up a little bit, because I like control. I don't like partnerships where I have some say in what that partnership looks like. But the reason I say it's not about political affiliation, it's more of a math exercise, is because we can go through some data. We can understand what this looks like. Okay. So last year, government spent $3.8 trillion on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid alone. Political suicide to talk about any reform in any of these categories. $3.8 trillion spent on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid alone. Okay? That's a big number. It's a big number. We have an aging population. We are growing in our population of folks that are Social Security eligible. Okay? Social Security was not designed to fund people for 20 years. That's what's happening today. You were on Social Security for about maybe 5 years max, back when it was, first put in place in the 30s. So it's a big, big deal. Medicare reform, also another one of those kind of taboos. But ultimately, we spent $3.8 trillion just last year, and no one can talk about it. So out of a total $6 trillion budget, $3.8 trillion is really already put in the bank, and we've already paid for it, or based on our population, right? It's going to happen. We're going to spend it before Congress even meets and does a darn thing. We spent almost $4 trillion just funding Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. It's got nothing to do with things going on in the Ukraine. It's got nothing to do with Israel. It's got nothing to do with what's going on in our border and illegal immigration, all that good stuff. We spent $4 trillion just on those basic necessities that we had to fund. Congress hasn't met a single thing yet. We haven't met and talked about spending another dime, squibble back and forth about scraps. No, $4 trillion almost. Okay. Now this year, we're going to spend $1 trillion on funding debt. That's great. So we got another little problem there, right? So expenses are only relative based on the amount of income we bring in. So how much we bring in last year? We brought in a total of about $4.4 trillion. So basically what happens here, folks, we service our debt, we fund Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and we've just spent every dollar that we bring in this country. That includes everything, by the way, income tax revenue, payroll taxes, those corporations that don't pay their fair share even though they create jobs and pay payroll taxes of their employees. Yep, they're bad. You can tell my public opinion on this, folks. I actually don't think you should tax corporations. I'm tired of hearing that rhetoric. Doesn't bother me at all. They shouldn't pay taxes because guess what? They're creating jobs. So income tax is about $2 trillion. We got payroll taxes, 1.6. So we have basically funded Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and we haven't even protected our border. So guess what happens? We operate on a deficit. It's math. It's math. We operate on a deficit when Congress meets and talks about anything other than Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, which you can't cut. You can't cut it because, it's political suicide to talk about it. So ultimately, we have a math problem. This no tax on tips, this only tax $400,000 and up, they got to pay their fair share. Guess what? If you make $1 million and every dollar after a certain amount gets taxed at 100%, we're still short. We're still short by a lot. And do you think anyone making $1 million is going to work and make any more money if you're taking it all from them? It doesn't work that way. So we have a mathematical problem regarding taxation, and it is going to impact more people than anyone will let you believe. Okay. Now, taxes get me a little bit excited. I get hot and bothered when I'm talking about taxes. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I'm going to have some fun with my next guest, talking about a little bit more fun topic.
You're listening to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com.
Do you want your retirement plan benefiting you or the IRS? If you're concerned about reducing your partnership with the IRS through higher taxation, you need to attend our upcoming workshop, Taxes and Retirement. We got 2 dates, Thursday, September 19th, Wednesday, September 25th, taking place over at the Walnut Grill in O'Fallon, Missouri. Reach out for more details at SerenityWealthNow.com. That is SerenityWealthNow.com.
Serenity Now! Hi, it's Vic Porcelli. You're listening to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper on 101.9 and 94.1 NewsTalk STL.
All right, welcome. So in studio, we have Mark Sutherland, my good buddy with Stone Ledge Spirits. How are you, Mark?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me.
It is a beautiful day. We're excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Excited to share.
So what is going on in your world? You've got some pretty exciting news coming up for the folks in the Defiance area.
Yeah, so we're Stone Ledge Distillery, Stone Ledge Spirits Company. We produce Stolok whiskey and Inversion vodka. And we've been in the market since 2022. Various stores across Missouri and bars, Florida, now the United Kingdom, Illinois. Not in that order, but yeah, we're expanding. But we've been looking for the last couple of years for that, that storefront, that physical place.
Sure.
We have the production. We're producing it behind the scenes. But we wanted that place where we could hang out with friends,
right,
and share not just the spirits, but share the experience of being at a distillery, the barrels, the cocktails, the cigars, everything that goes into surrounding a whiskey and a spirit environment. And so we discovered in downtown Defiance there was a bar that first became a bar in 1893.
A lot of history there. That's pretty cool. A lot of history
there. First bar in Defiance, Missouri. It was a post office for a wee bit, probably during Prohibition, and of course, after Prohibition, everybody got depressed, and we had the Great Depression. But the bar came back at that point.
Well, that's what happens when you take away people's booze, right? The markets go down, and
everybody gets sad.
Now
depressed.
we know what led to the Great Depression.
I'm standing on that one.
It makes sense. I don't think we should quote that, but
probably not.
Sounds good.
We might get challenged on that. But it's been a bar this entire time, and it became available for us to acquire, and we've spent the last few months discovering just how interesting an 1893 bar is.
Sure.
There are things in there that have not been touched since 1893, but we are turning it into our tasting room. So we'll have events, tasting. We're sectioning off a part of it to become the Cigar Lounge. We'll be aging barrels there. We'll be doing classes. It'll be a good environment, and we got some great neighbors there in Defiance as well. With the Watering Hole and Good News Brewing and Wenty's Roadhouse. So it's a great center location in Defiance, and we are targeting November to be open this year. Now,
very nice.
We're getting there. We're supply chain issues. We've got wood that's not coming in time. We've got windows that are delayed. So we're working through that process that everybody's been dealing with for the last couple of years. But our goal is hopefully Halloween weekend. If not, then sometime in November we'll be open, and people can come enjoy what we do with what are Ozark Highlands spirits.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about the Ozark Highlands, because I obviously know the story, but let's make sure our listeners know exactly what that means, because I think it's really cool. Every bottle of Stolok whiskey is 100% Missouri-based.
Correct. So 1819, federal government came to what would become Missouri in 1821 and discovered from about where I-70 is today all the way halfway down Arkansas, there's a massive limestone shelf. And if anybody knows anything about spirits and whiskey, the best water to create a spirit with is all natural limestone filtered water. The bottom half of Missouri has every well, every natural spring, every aquifer is full of that water. So we have phenomenal base ingredient right there in Missouri. We also have a great climate for aging. So if, with the barrels, when you're aging whiskey, you want humidity and temperature levels to change and fluctuate because that causes the liquid to come in and out of the wood. And that
so you actually want some inconsistencies.
You absolutely want some seasonality. We have some great climate for it. Same as Kentucky and Tennessee, very similar climate. And then, Missouri white oak, that's what pretty much every American oak barrel in the world is made from. That's all coming out of Missouri. It's a $10 billion industry every year. So since 1819, we've had this significant distilling history where Missouri has touched the world, whether it be barrels, whether it be spirits themselves. We've been a very quiet leader in distilling. And a few years back, people started to realize that. And we started to have conversations. And Missouri actually went and codified what it means to be an Ozark Highlands spirit. So they put quality controls around it. It has to be at least 4 years old. It has to be made in Missouri. Has to be aged in Missouri-made barrels, all natural limestone filtered water, no chemicals, fully sustainable. And so that is now a legal category of spirits.
Okay.
And we produce within that legal category our Stolock whiskey and our Inversion vodka.
Now, so this is, I always hear, like bourbons. Bourbons has to be kind of a Kentucky kind of a thing, right?
No, they like you to think that,
right?
Yes.
That's what it is. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's branding right there.
Yeah.
No, definition of a bourbon is anything that's got more than 51% corn, made in America, and aged in a brand new charred barrel.
Okay.
So one of our whiskeys right now is a bourbon because it is in a brand new charred barrel. It's 55% sweet corn, and it's made in America. We're not leaning into that because all that liquid that just came out of the barrels, we turned around and refilled them.
Okay.
So our Stolock whiskey in 4 years will not be a bourbon. It will still be Ozark Highlands. It will still be an American whiskey, but it will, even though the mash is bourbon, it will not technically be a bourbon at that point.
So it's just really good marketing when you hear bourbon versus whiskey. It's really just Kentucky wants you to.
Yeah, and it started in Kentucky.
Sure.
So they do have that, but it doesn't have to be from Kentucky.
Now, back to your distillery. So with the distillery, is this going to be, are you keeping some of those natural elements from the original as much as you can?
We are. So all the wood, the bar itself we think it's original from the 1800s. So we're refinishing that and cleaning it up. There's a lot of cleanup that we had to do. I spent like 2 days tracking all the wiring in the building. Most of it didn't connect to anything.
Now, was that original from the 1800s?
I think pretty much. I think some of it actually was, it was, at least early 1900s. So it's got, we're trying to retain the historic essence because that fits with distilleries and whiskey.
Right.
And, it's been a part of the community since the community started. But it's all natural wood. We've got some good color schemes with it. We'll have barrel aging. We just had a jail door built for the barrel room.
Very cool.
So that goes in this week. So it's really, it's gonna capture that, but it's also gonna be, if you think of a cocktail lounge. So we'll have a lot of creative drinks along with the traditional. To really show what we can do with the spirits. And then we'll bring in, we're going to feature a lot of other Missouri spirits in the tasting room as well. And then we're starting to import some really good rum from the UK and the Caribbean. So we'll feature that in our tasting room as well.
Very nice. Now, you mentioned some events. So talk a little bit about some of the events that you can see having in your space.
Yeah, so a variety. So definitely want to do some events around how to create cocktails, how to taste whiskey, just everything that in the spirits industry.
Sure.
But then we'll do some more fun stuff as well. We'll do the costume contests or the trivia nights, the things that whiskey and spirits are part of that.
Yeah.
But community is really what it's all about.
Right.
And really, when you think about whiskey, that's what it's all about.
Well, yeah.
It is community.
Absolutely.
Whiskey and cigars, that's sitting around, slowing down, stepping out of the hectic pace of life, just taking a moment to pause, relax, and enjoy the people that you're with.
Well, we don't do that very much in today's technologically driven world.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Now, and then you've got a really nice patio back there as well.
We do. So when the weather's, at first it's just a regular patio, covered patio. So when the weather's nice, we'll be doing the music and the events out there. We'll be able to do weddings if somebody wants to get married in the distillery enjoy some good spirits while they're doing so. So we'll get some variety there. Long term, we'll enclose that.
Okay.
So it'll be something that could be used year round, but also you can open it up when the weather is nice.
Yeah. Well, I know it's pretty cool back there, and you're right next to the Katy Trail.
We are
as well.
Yeah, we back right onto the Katy Trail.
Yeah.
So real convenient. There's a lot of bicyclists that have been stopping by in the last couple of months asking what the heck we're doing. And when we'll be open, and everybody's been pretty excited to hear.
It's a great location, so we're excited. So, all right. So November is what we're targeting.
That's the goal. Yes.
Right.
So people can follow us on social on our website and get the latest. We'll definitely be shouting it from the rooftops when we're ready to open.
I know I'm very excited for it. So I think it's going to be great, and I think it's going to be it's a perfect location. And I have a lot of folks when I come in here and do my socials and my client appreciation events and things. My wife always gets excited because there's always it's the one she doesn't expect. They don't want the beer, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm going to smoke small fashions, and they're like, wait, what? Oh, I'd take one of those. And she never expected. It's always the older lady, and she's like, wow, you're a whiskey person? Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's interesting because you've got the historical, they grew up with it, their fathers did it, and it's the older generation. But we're also seeing that in the younger generation, especially whenever everybody went home for 2 years and kind of just hung out. Everybody discovered their inner mixologist,
right?
So they started discovering old fashions and Manhattans and all these other drinks that they usually didn't get because they were just at a bar and they ordered whatever they knew.
Right.
They discovered themselves again and discovered the joy of putting a really good cocktail together and then sharing it with friends. And that's continued since everybody decided to not stay home anymore.
Right. So, all right. So you mentioned some new kind of unique blends or unique drinks that you can think of. So what's something that's a little bit different? I like my old fashions. So where would I like to go? Where do you think?
Well, I mean, we can go the lazy way.
Okay. I like lazy too.
Okay,
I say easy though. We
can definitely do an easy. So, Joe, I mean, people like the old fashioned. So I travel quite often because we're in Florida and various United Kingdom. And you go to a restaurant, you go to a bar, and there's always a danger in ordering an old fashioned from somewhere because if they kill it with the bitters or they just don't do it right, you can get some pretty disgusting things.
And I've seen a lot of orange, too much orange,
right?
And yep.
So what I do is, if I'm in a place that I don't know much about, in Missouri, it would be I'd order a Stolock and a splash of Laban, which is a phenomenal liqueur made by Nobleton's Distilling House. If I'm somewhere else in the country and they don't have Laban, then it'll be whatever whiskey they have that like, maybe a Woodford Reserve or a Weller's, and then a splash of Grand Marnier.
Okay.
And it's consistent. It's got the essence of an old-fashioned without the trust that could be misplaced in the bartender.
Yeah.
And you get that consistently good drink. So it's a very simple way to get that drink.
Well, and then you get that consistency. And then as long as they've got the good cherries, you're in pretty good shape.
Exactly.
Because I find that what happens is you either get the place that likes to go all orange on you, or they go way too cherry on you.
Right.
And I like exactly what you said. It's perfect.
Do that and then have them throw some Luxardo cherries in and you're good to go.
And it's got to be the Luxardos.
It has to be.
Right?
Oh, yeah. You send it back if it's the red stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
So you can't skimp on the cherries.
No.
So cool. Well, we're going to be seeing you here again and talking more when you got a definitive date about some of the different cool things you've got coming up. But I'm excited to be a part of it. Thanks for coming on and talking a little bit about it too. November it is.
Yes, November. So thanks for having me.
We are holding you to it, bud.
All right. We're ready to open.
I love it.
A little bit of work.
All right. Thanks, bud.
You're listening to Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com.
Do you want your retirement plan benefiting you or the IRS? If you're concerned about reducing your partnership with the IRS through higher taxation, you need to attend our upcoming workshop. taxes and retirement. We got 2 dates, Thursday, September 19th, Wednesday, September 25th, taking place over at the Walnut Grill in O'Fallon, Missouri. Reach out for more details at SerenityWealthNow.com. That is SerenityWealthNow.com.
Serenity Now!
This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper.
All right. Thank you, Mark Sutherland, for coming in. Stone Ledge Distillery coming to you in November. I know I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there quite a bit because that place is great. And Mark does such a cool job talking about the history of whiskey and the history of this region. And he knows a lot of interesting facts about Missouri. And I just think that is fascinating. I always learn from him. And it's really easy to learn from an Englishman because, it always sounds much more intriguing. So, thanks for helping to keep me and my blood pressure nice and low because when I start talking about taxes, I get a little bit hot and bothered. So it's really nice that I have that little venue of venting that I'm able to do and then kind of socialize, relax, and take it all in with a nice little spirit. So Mark's a great guy, and we got to talk a little bit about taxes along the way too, of course. And so it's great to have him in studio to just kind of break it up a little bit. But we have to think about taxes and how they impact and influence us. And it's so important, and we have to think about strategies to mitigate that risk, that silent partner we have in our financial future. They're in our legacy. And our goals outlive us. So we have to understand how we can reduce that exposure we have. Because we want control, right? We all want control. And I've not met a single person that says taxes are going down. I just haven't. So we got to understand what options we have. RMDs, required minimum distributions, they affect a lot of people. And people are startled when they see the big number that the government's going to force you to take out of many IRAs and things. Okay. So we don't want to take no money out. We have to have some money coming out of our IRAs. That's okay. Right. But we want to take the money out we need on our control, not on the government's. Okay. So that's why we look at things like Roth conversions. That's why we look at other things from a tax-free income stream sourcing, right? Life insurance, another great option there. Tax-free source of income. You can use like long-term care insurance. Great way to think about tax efficiencies built into wealth management strategies. Okay. There are a lot of really, really big deal items that come out of things like long-term care. Long-term care concerns will eat up a portfolio really fast. And life insurance vehicles can solve and help protect those risks for those that are healthy. Okay. Having a tax-free income stream for long-term care can be a very big deal. Very big deal. So we do need to think about mitigation strategies when it comes to taxes. What are those right strategies? Depends on your situation. Roth is a great example. Roth can help quite a bit. You just got to remember that Roth is part of a tax code. It can be written and it can be changed because it's written down in pencil. All right. We know what it is today, but it can theoretically change because of Roth, and the Roth rules are written in pencil. That's one of the things I like about life insurance. Life insurance doesn't get a lot of play because people just kind of, it's life insurance, boring. Well, you know what? It's also contractually guarantees. It's kind of nice. And no contract can ever be written and changed because guess what? It's written and it's typed up and it's locked down. Contract law is a big deal. So tax efficiency within contracts, which is what life insurance vehicles are, is pretty powerful. That's why I like long-term care vehicles that have life insurance place when it's right for people. Not right for everybody. But we need to think about these things and what options we have to create tax efficiency and more control within our financial future. Because that's really what's important. Our goals outlive us, and we want to make sure we understand what that looks like.
This is Serenity Wealth Now with Chris Cooper. Request a free copy of Chris's latest book, The New Holistic Retirement, by visiting SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.